Hi, I'm Lisa Andrea, Transformation Life Coach. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast, where guests share their inspiring stories of leaping out of their comfort zone with confidence and power and into a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's listen to their life-changing stories so that we can all learn how to gain the courage to take a leap of faith into a life that we love so that we can all be Ladies Who Leap. Let's get started. Hi, thank you for joining Ladies Who Leap podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of having Prima Jope join us. Prima, founder of Experts to Millions, is on a mission to transform female experts into legendary coaches with enduring legacies. This isn't about competing in saturated markets or slapping price tags on generic services. Prima weaves the fabric of legacy brands, doing the rare custom work that elevates your brand into a league of its own. This is about impact, deep, meaningful impact that withstands the test of time. With her knack for unlocking your potential and her deep co-creative partnership, she turns visions into realities. Declaring war on mediocrity, Prima guides her clients through transformative shifts, making the leap into a coaching business model feel natural. For those prepared to turn their expertise into a coaching legacy that will be remembered, Prima is your conduit for a fluid transition into a legacy coaching brand. So Prima, welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Every time people read that, I'd be like, is that me? Sounds too... I listen to it all of the time and I'm like, I don't know, it sounds too expansive and too, like I'm just humbled to hear people read it. And I'm like, yeah, I've really come from far. So
Yeah,
thank you for
you have. And that's the courage that we love to hear about, that women tap into to be able to have a bio that's like that. From what I know about you, you've had several leaping out of your comfort zone times in your life. And we just spoke a couple minutes ago. The first was a big impression from your dad. So this started at a young age from an impression from your dad. Can you talk about that?
Let's just say that my life has been leaping out of my comfort zone day after day, month after month, year after year. When I was 13, my brother insisted my dad should go to his school to pick his report card. It was like speech day. So my brother insists, Dad, you have to come and pick my report card. And my dad says, why doesn't your mother go? And then my brother says, I'm going to be like the best in class. And so it would really be cool if you came. My dad wasn't that kind of person who would go to schools and stuff. And he says, okay, if you insist, I show up. My dad goes with my brother, and I thought it had gone well. I didn't realize how badly my brother was doing until they come back, and off the car, my dad drags him into the courtyard and said, everybody come here. This is an announcement. If your best in life is coming third last of class, I will have no hesitation but to send you back to your mother so she can really tell you who your real father is, because that's not me. I just knew, Lisa, that I had to show up in life, or I had no dad. That's where my life started, of like, this place I am of eating and feeding and staying in daddy's home stops when I get bad grades. So I have to show up in life if I need a roof over my head and an actual dad. That's where things start.
So he was very stern. He was very stern, but he also wanted to have children that were extraordinary. And I think that was his goal. Is that what I'm thinking when I hear this story?
It was so intimidating that at that point, I didn't care what his intentions were. I was just intimidated to death. Like, I couldn't imagine waking up and having to look for my own dad. And at that point, for me, it didn't really matter what the intention behind the command was. I just had one thing: you have to show up. You have to do your best. You have to be the best in life. There is no room for mediocrity. That is what I had. That was the command that I got in my head, and I just started moving.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you started a career in fashion. And those of you that don't know, if you'd like to talk about where you live and the fashion industry that what you did when this kind of your 9 to 5 job, which was your first kind of 9 to 5 job in fashion. Can you talk about that?
So the 9 to 5 wasn't in fashion. The 9 to 5 was in engineering at a telecom company. In my dad's home, you had to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer to have made his definition of success. And so I kind of followed that and ended up being an engineer. And that is how I got my first job in telecom.
Oh.
But then the longer I stayed in telecom, the more repeated stuff I had to do. The more I felt like this was mediocrity, which my dad didn't want. The more I felt like year after year, my increment in what I was earning wasn't equivalent to how much time I was spending on the computer. And I remember one day they gave me a supervisor who didn't know half of what I knew. And she tried to micromanage me. And I was like, you know what? There's a next level. And this next level won't find me in my current level crying. And so I put in my resignation and left.
Wow.
I had no plan. I didn't know what was ahead. I put in my resignation. I left and started my styling business. So the fashion is what came off after I had left my job.
Did you always have an interest in fashion? Did you know that it was something that you could do? Because I'll tell you, I was in telecom for many, many years myself, and leaving a job without having a job is like unheard of.
It's like committing suicide. They said I had committed career suicide, and I said, it's all right. Talking about fashion, for those of you that are not familiar with who I am, I come from Uganda. Now, Uganda, and then from like a place, like a small village or town with no traffic lights. The roads are like the worst in the world. It's tiny in the middle of nowhere. Like imagine being in the middle of nowhere with no proper roads, with no named anything, with no traffic lights. So if you try to come and find me, good luck, because you won't. Anyhow, I decided I wanted to do fashion. Naturally, I know how to put clothing together. I know that simple is better. I know that if people don't try and be glamorous, they'll always look good. I know that for people to look good, they don't need to do as much as everybody thinks you need to do. And so for me, I always found that I can look at someone and literally know if this person wore this, they would look good. Like there are women who might look fabulous in a free dress and women who might look fabulous in like a corn dress. And so it really takes awareness of a certain level to know what is the best dress for me. Not everybody's going to wear this, I don't know, hugging thing and look nice. And yet we are all beautiful. But for you to really present the best of yourself, you need to wear clothes that fit your shape or something like that. So for me, that stuff was always like second language to me. I always understood it. I always understood what people should wear, but most people did not. So even in the job, in my rucksack, I used to have like random clothing, and I just look at someone and go, hey, there's something here for you. Go give it a try. If you like it, you can pay me X amount tomorrow. And like that, I had like clients in the same company that I was dressing, but it wasn't official. It was in my bag, and then it went into the boot of my car. It was just some side hustle I was doing, but I was fully involved in my job. I didn't even have plans of quitting until that happened. And I was like, no, I'm off. It's time to go all in the style business. And I just left. And from there, I took these style skills that I had. I took the client best that I had built, not many, maybe 100 max, because it was like a company with like different branches. And then I put it in like a boutique, in a nice mall, one of those high-end malls. They gave me my money from the job, like the tertiary benefits or whatever. I used that. I started a fashion store. And very quickly, Lisa, I realized I didn't want to sell cheap things. I had a line of things that were inexpensive and a line of things that cost quite a buck. And I realized the guys that bought it cheap were so picky. They spent so much time and they had so many problems after they bought. The guys that gave me more money, I realized they were invested. They took their items, they took care of their items. And the only thing they ever called me back for was, can you do a wardrobe swap? And so there was this category of people, not so many, but there were like people who paid $500 for shoes. In Uganda, that's about 2 million, 2.5 million for shoes. And then there are these people who paid me $10 for something. And then they called me 10 times, they complained, they refunded. I was like, there's two markets here. And I'd love to spend my energy serving the guy who gives me more money, because it seems this person here has more money than they have time to stress me. And so for me, I decided that if I was to serve any market, I would want a client who can invest fully. Investment in terms of time, in terms of attention, and in terms of the value of that thing to them. And also these clients really forced me to level up and bring better items. I had to ship things from Europe somehow and bring it for these people, because they were paying me enough to force me to be creative and to find solutions, if it makes sense. These other guys were only buying because it was cheap or discounted, and they had like 1,000 complaints. So I really decided early on that if I was going to serve a market, I would have to serve a market of people who have more money than they have time. It was just a decision I made.
Okay, so that kind of sets you up for the coaching, right? Understanding your clients really well when you moved into coaching. Let me ask you though, how long did you do the fashion business? How long and how did that then
about six
transform?
years, 5 years, because I quit 2014, and by 2020 I was still doing fashion, which is like when COVID broke out in the whole world. So that was 6 good years serving these clients. I didn't have many clients, less than 100 clients, and it was a 6-figure business. It was a business I was doing really well, because I was only serving like a very small segment of the corporates in Africa, leaving everybody else. So it was a small audience, low maintenance actually, and they just bought more. Like the value of one customer was just big enough to cover 20 of the other small type buyers. And so it didn't make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you decided, or something happened in your life that made you move away from fashion. What was it that happened?
First was COVID. You know, in Uganda, we were like doing cash. Using credit cards is not a thing a lot here. People have to pay cash for the things they buy. And so what happened very quickly is COVID made us close. Like if you were in bricks and mortar, there was nowhere. We closed down, and now I had a lot of stock in the shop. I couldn't sell it. Money began disappearing from me day by day because I didn't have a lot of cash at that point. I had a lot of inventory. And as COVID came in and came in and came in, I really got like stuck because I didn't have cash. And I was online actually. I think I went to Rise Up World. I was in that challenge. I was beginning to understand how to get what is in your head and do something with it. But I was like in my head thinking, oh my God, who am I? Oh my God, who's gonna listen? Oh my God, how do these international people even think I can help them? All of those things were in my head. And one day, mom got caught. Now, mom is 65 now. She has COVID. She has high blood pressure. She has mental. She's been a mentor for 25 years. And the doctors said, we don't know if she will make it because she is a risky type of patient. And it may be in your best interest to do the best you can to get her the best medical care. The hospitals were full though, so that was really a problem because we had to do that from home. We had a week to build an ICU center at home and heal mom. Remember my brother who my dad told to go look for his dad? He took that fear and turned it into he's now a medical doctor and the best one you can find. He took that, turned around his grades, and now he's like the best of the best. So my brother calls us and says, hey, you guys, we can save mom, but we're going to need money and a lot of it, and we're going to need it right now. So if you can find money, please do. If we don't, I hope each and every one of you will be okay living knowing that we lost mom because we couldn't pay for her medical. I was like, what?
He sounds like your dad. He sounds like something that your dad
Yeah.
would said. Yeah.
It sounds like that. I
Mhm.
took that. I was online writing content. You know, this inspired content where you're just writing and writing and writing and people are loving you, but it's not heading anywhere. I took that. There was one lady who like liked everything I posted. I put her in a Zoom room. I said, tell me about your business. Tell me what you sell. She was selling a network marketing product. How much is the thing? 5K. Can you pitch me the thing? I was like, I need to find someone who can pay me to solve a problem for them. And I didn't know how to get people to tell me their problems. And so I said, can you sell me the thing you're selling? And the woman started to sell me the thing. Lovely lady. There is no way anyone would buy that. Because she started to pitch and I was dozing. I turned around and said, has anyone bought this offer? And she said, no. I said, because I would wonder if they did. Because you're really not selling the thing properly. It was a very good offer. She just didn't know how to sell it. Now, at that point, I really understood how to sell like luxury items. So something which was $5,000, no problem. That was like a luxury item for me. I really understood how to build value. And so I said to her, is it okay if I turn around and kind of demonstrate for you how I would go about this? And she said, sure. I got the thing and I pitched her the thing. I moved from like, it has this and this to like the dream. When people buy this thing, they'll make more money. That money will allow them to then spend time with their families and all of that. I started to sell her the real dream because I'd watched the VSL. She looked at me and she said, I feel like buying the thing again. And I was like, yeah, if you sell it well, it's a great product, people will buy it. Then I kept quiet. She turned around and asked me, do you offer coaching? I didn't have a coaching program. I didn't know how much the thing was. I didn't know what I was supposed to do for someone if they paid me. And I said, yes. She asked me how much. I looked at her straight in the face, Lisa, and I said $2,000.
Yep.
More people would get paid if they held a straight face when they asked for the price.
Mhm.
Straight in their face, I said $2,000. The next question was, do you take PayPal? I crowned myself coach, and I've never stopped coaching.
Isn't that something? Yeah. And it's interesting because it takes courage, a lot of courage. In fact, coaches, as you probably know now, because you coach coaches, it's very difficult for us to ask for the amount of money that we know deep down that we're worth. But you took that and you realized that in that moment, and I'm sure your rates have gone up since then, but you said a good amount of money so that you could save your mom's life, because that was the motivation, right? Was, okay, my brother said I have to have money. I need to save my mom's life. Let me just say $2,000 and then be quiet.
Yeah.
And you
I
got
looked at her and she just paid. She just paid next day, saved my mom. Now the next problem was, what do I do with this person who's paid me? And I just figured it out.
Yeah.
That's why I love the School of Hard Knocks, because I just figured it out by the day. And somehow I got her results and she was happy. And she introduced her friends who were happy. And so really my first 6 figures was, sheer lack of helping people who are very generous to bring their friends. No one was responding to my marketing or anything, but behind the wheel, referrals were working and people were paying me and money was just accumulating. And so I really think a lot of people complicate business. A lot of people shy away from asking for the price or whatever because of the fear. And sometimes we need that external force to push us out of that comfort zone. And unfortunately, some of you, your mother will never be at the verge of death. And something may never happen, like you have no job or whatever. And so it's really hard, Lisa, to push beyond that comfort zone unless an external thing happens. And so I don't know if you found some solutions to help people create like that I like you call it, like introduce a lion in the room, so you have no choice but to leap into that highest level of yourself that you don't even know exists.
Well,
really
for me,
have a formula for people to do that.
yeah, for me, what I do is I ask the client, what is the cost of not doing this? And then I'm quiet. And usually, almost 100% of the time, they'll realize that their life will never be fulfilled or happy, or they won't have true joy, or they'll always be focusing on other people and not themselves, because most women don't get the opportunity or feel that they're worthy enough to dream. So stepping out of their comfort zone, as I say, is where the growth happens. And if you don't grow and you don't transform, what is the cost? So that's the question that I ask. And that should, from what, and this is interesting because your conversation is leading to the fact that there's a motivation there that has to happen. And so the cost is, oh my gosh, you have to think about that. What would happen if I didn't do this? It would be so difficult. I would go through life. We're only given one lifetime, right? And so we have to make it as a good for ourselves and as good of an experience that we can, right? So that's the cost.
I like it, but I think some people will need like an external coach to help them pull it out. For me, I was maybe, I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky that my mother was dying, and that was like external facing me, like a giant lion facing me, and I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. And so I went. But then if you have a job and have a spouse with a job, and you know the sky is not falling down for you, sometimes you may need somebody external to help you through this process so you can really get the urge of stepping out of that comfort zone. Because I personally know it's easier said than done. And if you can't do it alone, don't struggle. Ask for help.
Yeah, ask for help. Yeah, and having even supportive family members around you, friends that lift you up, don't put you down as you start to grow and shine. That's really important. So tell us a little story about how you and your husband met. Talk about, I think, getting out of your comfort zone. It's kind of
Talk about
we're changing the
comfort
subject, but
zone.
it's really neat, neat story.
Talk about comfort zones. I was on Facebook. That was after I'd saved my mom and made six figures a couple of times. And I love to tell stories as they are. I love to tell people the truth. I love to go in the world without filters. Like I love to just say it as it is, because I learned early on that has the way of helping someone. When I was struggling with imposter syndrome, I remember I watched a video by a guy called Nick. That guy's business is life without limbs. Nick has no arms, he has no legs. But when you watch him speak, you go, oh my God. He has thousands and thousands of people roaring and screaming how he's changed their life. And the guy, meanwhile, has no arms, no legs. When I looked at that guy, I was like, who am I not? If this guy is changing lives, if this guy is helping other people, if this guy is changing the world, I have to step up and do it. There is somebody that needs my message. Because for me, it was Nick that convinced me that I am something. I'd listened to Tony, nothing. I'd listened to Oprah, nothing. I'd listened to all of these experts, and they were telling me, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And a voice inside me was saying, who cares about you from a tiny village in Africa with no roads? Like, who cares? I was like, who am I? And so imposter was eating me up. I watched Nick's video and I was like, there is somebody out there that needs my message and I'm going to share it. And so I'm coming from that to tell you why I met my husband in the end, because I am always after telling people the truth of the story, because I know that there is always somebody that gets inspired. So I go on Facebook and I start sharing this story where I was I was so broke, it wasn't even funny. I had reached a level where I wouldn't buy toilet paper without looking at the price. And so I had spent almost 30 minutes in a supermarket, literally looking for the cheapest toilet paper.
Wow.
And I was telling that story because at that point, I was sat at a few six figures, and looking back at my audience, I was like, you know, I don't know which part you are, but I've reached rock bottom. And this was my rock bottom. And it had to take my mom dying for me to step up. And so I was trying to say, just show up. You don't need filters. You don't need the next camera. You don't need the next eyelash. Show up as you are and just serve people. My husband read that and he was like, is there a person in this world who has the ability to share that they couldn't afford toilet paper? I am interested in this person and I'd like to know them more. That led into the other thing, the other thing, the other thing. We've been married 1 year now. We've been together 2 years, married 1 year. I couldn't have found a better spouse if I tried. But if I would have been on Facebook with 1,000 filters and the fakest eyelash, I probably wouldn't have met him. The only reason he came to me was I have never seen anyone that is so carefree and so natural and so authentic that it's not even funny. And so that is when he decided that's my wife. So before you put on the next filter, before you have the next excuse why you're not ready, before you say because, but, Lisa, I could do it, but think you're just enough as you are. Come, we don't need filters. Show up as you are. We want you just as you are, not any inch better. That's the lesson I really want to share from there.
Because then you attract the people that are accepting you just as you are.
Yes.
And then you can.
And you know, Lisa, the thing even after that is that you have to leave your comfort zone to leap into the next level of you. Now, Matt shows up, but he's a random person on Facebook. I am back here in Kampala. This is a guy from the United Kingdom. He could be a serial killer, he could be a murderer, he could be anything. But I have to step into that next level to embrace him and accept him in my life. Otherwise, my comfort is probably marrying a guy who I can see and touch and he's black like me. But now I have to really step out of that and go, if I want the next level, I've got to leave the current status or comfort zone because that next level doesn't come at the same wavelength. And so people want this thing over here, but they're over here inside sheets, inside blankets. Like the life you want is not going to find you inside your blanket. It's out there and you probably have to cross a storm to get it. And so really what I want to share there is that your next is not going to find you in your current state, being comfortable. We've got to leap out and be ready for that next. And even when you take the step, there are no guarantees. You could fall, you could break your neck, you could fail. But until you take the step, we don't know what could have happened.
And when you fail, you learn. So embrace the failures. Okay, I've learned it for the next time. I'm going to change my approach, or I'm going to do something different, or whatever it is. That's how you learn, and that's how you grow. When you're uncomfortable is when you're growing, and you're really going to find the happiness and joy. Oh, what a great message, Prima. I love it.
Yes. Growth is not comfortable. Growth is not comfortable. If somebody's on the fence of saying, I don't know, what if it doesn't work? What if there's two things I do? Like usually when someone is that scared, I go, okay, what is the worst case that could happen if you do this thing? And they tell me. What is the best case scenario? And they tell me. And I go, could you live with the worst case scenario? And if the answer is yes, I just go jump. That's now the decision kind of matrix that I help my clients with when they're locked into this place of what if things go bad. Can you live with the worst case scenario? If the answer is yes, go. Worst case scenario is you pick lessons and you bounce back.
Yeah. And that's where confidence comes. When you know that you can still take whatever challenges are going to come your way and move forward and move ahead. You believe in yourself. And so, Prima, it sounds like what you give your clients is believing in themselves. It really is important that they believe in themselves, because then they can get through all of the challenges that might come their way.
What I found with most experts is they are too close to their genius to see it. And sometimes they need a mirror, somebody on the side to go, this is what I see for you. This is the best self that people want from you. And I see you showing up as this mediocre person. Really, you can step into this other version. So what we need you to do now is move out of this version of you into the other version of you, because the client you're looking for is on the other side waiting for you to step up. And sometimes people have to use my faith in them to take the step. Sometimes they're like, I don't know, I can do it. I'm like, I'm sure you can do it, so go. If you fall, I'll catch you. It's more like I'm pushing them and going, if you fall, I'll catch you. Just know I'm here waiting. If you fall and stumble, I'm here. And sometimes they just have to use that to move. Sometimes you just have to go. Whether you believe it or not, find somebody who believes enough in you and just go, okay, I'm going. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, gosh. So normally I ask my clients at the end to talk about a favorite quote or mantra or positive affirmation. You've given a lot so far, but I did ask you prior to us getting on the podcast. So there was one thing that you were saying you would share. So can you share that now?
Yes, what I would say coming to a close is really a lot of people spend a lot of time in the head thinking about what could be, thinking about what if, thinking about the impossible or whatever could have happened. A lot of people spend a lot of time in the head trying to get clear. What I find is that the clarity they are looking for is hidden in the steps they need to take. And so sometimes the perfect equation you're looking for, sometimes the clarity you're looking for, sometimes the yes, that feeling you're looking for to go, yes, this is the right direction, it doesn't come until you take the step. And so I love to say the clarity you're looking for is hidden in the motion you're not taking. So get in motion and quit of analyzing.
Yeah, because I think people call it analysis paralysis. No, just take the action, just move ahead. Even if it's a small step, even if you're still working in your job and you just are kind of exploring this, take the step. Oh, it's perfect.
Take the step. Sometimes you don't really know what the second step is until you take that first step.
Exactly.
I would never have known I can coach until I took that money and I was like, all right, Holly, I just took someone's $2,000. What am I supposed to do with her now? Then now my brain started to work out. Calm down. There is this thing called coaching. Her problem is she can't sell, and we're going to start from there. And the elementals started to drop from nowhere. Help started coming because now I was clear of my next problem. And then that now would end and another problem would come. And now the help would start coming. You won't get clear until you get uncomfortable and take the action. And I might just say it as Nike, just do it. You don't even have to believe it. You don't even have to see it, just move. You see one step, take the step in faith that there will be a second step, because sometimes that's all it is. Yeah.
So Prima, today made me believe that we can all get clients if only we're able to eliminate, and you call it destruction, which is getting out of your head, I assume is what that means. So if Prima's experiences and insights inspired you, I highly recommend requesting a free conversation with her or her team that she is making available for us today.
We basically help experts who are looking to bolt on coaching consulting. Like if you're speaking and you're author and you're already doing other things, but you're thinking, I need to bolt on coaching consulting, I wouldn't mind an extra 100,000 from that this year. It's the kind of conversation that I love having with coaches, consultants, experts. I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you, have a look at what you have going on, have a look at what you're trying to do, and seeing what that next level as a coach consultant looks like for you.
Wonderful. Oh, this is such a great conversation. I love it. And I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you for sharing your insight and your inspiration and your knowledge. You are a great coach. You're sharing the right information to get people to get out of their comfort zone. And I really appreciate that. Thank
That's
you.
what I mean, Lisa. I love women who leap. I love the get out of your comfort zone topic. I love that because a lot of people, what could happen and what is happening for them is literally buried in the leap of faith they're not taking to get out of their comfort zone and see what is on the other world. So really, thank you for the work you're doing in the world. I think it is life-changing work. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all the listeners at the Ladies Who Leap podcast. So appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Prima.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks so much for listening or watching. Please subscribe to the Ladies Who Leap podcast to be notified of new episodes. And I would love to hear from you. Let me know what works, what doesn't, and if you have a story to tell, please reach out. Come join the Leap community at the Ladies Who Leap Club Facebook group. Remember, leaping out of your comfort zone is where the growth happens.